Insane, the holy name of God appears on the eastern wall of Jerusalem, right by the Golden Gate. It was a scene that struck the heart of anyone who caught a glimpse. The sun hung low over Jerusalem, casting long shadows across the ancient stones. People paused in their tracks, their eyes wide and mouths agape. There, amongst the weathered bricks of the eastern wall, against the backdrop of a fiery sunset, appeared what looked like letters etched in gold, shimmering with an otherworldly glow. It read, God. A gasp echoed among the crowd, as if someone had just whispered a secret so profound it could change everything. As news spread like wildfire, the air thickened with disbelief. Tourists in shorts and sandals, locals in traditional dress, and faithful pilgrims alike converged at the Golden Gate, clutching cell phones and cameras, ready to document the unexplainable. A woman clutched her rosary, her fingers trembling, eyes brimming with unspoken prayers. A child pointed with curiosity, his innocence untouched by fear. People murmured amongst themselves, their voices a blend of excitement and dread. Was this a divine sign or a trick of the light? Then came the strange phenomenon that ratcheted up the tension. Every time someone dared to touch the wall where the name appeared, a low hum filled the air, not a sound but a vibration, deep and resonant, like the beating of a drum in a sacred ritual. Eyes rolled back, some fainted under the pressure of the moment, their bodies unable to handle the weight of such an encounter. The whispers swirled. What did it mean? Was it a calling? A warning? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the crowd grew thicker, people strained to catch a glimpse of what was happening. Shadows danced, flickering like candles in a darkened room. The sun dipped lower, casting an eerie glow on the name, a name that felt more than just letters. It felt alive, pulsing with a strange energy, whispering promises of mystery. The weight of the moment was suffocating, pulling everyone closer to the wall, each soul drawn by curiosity, fear, or perhaps, something deeper. Was this where hopes ignited or nightmares began? Tension hung thick in the air, and as the first star blinked into existence, an even bigger question loomed: who or what was behind this extraordinary occurrence? The echoes of gasps began to fade into murmurs as darkness settled over the crowd. The once blazing sun now hung like a blood-red orb on the horizon, further intensifying the surreal spectacle that had captured hearts and minds. People shifted uneasily, faces illuminated by the glow of their devices, framing the ancient wall with soft blue light, desperately trying to capture the miraculous moment. But their screens only showed a blur. Nothing could replicate the sensation coursing through the air. "Look!" shouted a man near the front, pointing. The crowd parted as he stumbled back, wide-eyed, unable to escape what he had just witnessed. His hands trembled, still trying to touch the wall that seemed to be vibrating with raw energy, and then, as if stirred by a sudden wind, the name flickered, pulsing with a vibrant light that matched the frantic beating of the heart surrounding it. People froze, a collective intake of breath filling the air. From somewhere deep within the crowd, a voice cried out, "It's a sign. A divine message." A wild-eyed woman, draped in a bright shawl, thrust her hands into the air, calling for attention. She spoke with an urgency that clutched at something primal inside everyone, igniting fears and faith alike. "Do you feel it?" she continued. "That hum? It's a calling. We're being summoned." Her fervor sparked a wave of fervent nods and shouts. A man near the back clutched his throat, fumbling for words, only to squeak out a warning: "We should go, we don't understand what this is." The tension escalated, and the previously curious faces morphed into one's yearning for understanding. "Someone, please touch it." A teenager, emboldened by adrenaline and perhaps a dash of recklessness, stepped forward, ignoring the warning murmurs. Her finger reached the glowing letters, and the vibration escalated. The energy rippled outward, like a shockwave across a still pond. People stumbled back, a gasp snaking through like a current, while a few fell to their knees, overcome by the intensity. "Is this God or a demon?" a man muttered, fear crackling in his voice. Out of nowhere, a voice from deep within shouted, "Repent." It sent chills through the crowd, a reminder of the separation between hope and dread. Chaos erupted. Some tried to flee, while others pushed closer, as if they could grasp the mystery. The scene devolved into confusion, screams blending with whispered prayers. An elderly man swayed on his feet, hands shaking, searching for something: reassurance, sanity, or perhaps even an answer. Suddenly, with a brilliant flash, the letters morphed, twisting into a new formation: choose. The words seemed to hang heavily in the air, pressing down on everyone like thick fog. What exactly did they have to choose? Heart rates quickened. Did they choose to believe? To engage with the unknown? Or to turn away from what felt like an omen of change? Among the frozen crowd, conversations erupted into debates, both daring and desperate. That in the midst of it all, one figure detached from the throng, a mysterious woman in a flowing robe, eyes sharp as daggers, stood observing silently. As she locked eyes with the glowing wall, a knowing smile crept upon her lips. What did she know? The crowd swirled around the wall, tension rising like a tide. Every heartbeat echoed the same question: what were they being called to face? The air thickened with uncertainty, leaving one final inquiry lingering in their minds: was this the beginning of revelation or the harbinger of chaos? Fear and excitement entwined, gripping the crowd in an iron vice of emotion. The word choose pulsed with authority and dread, igniting a storm of whispers. Some turned their backs, ready to escape what they couldn't comprehend. Others edged forward, drawn by an irresistible force. Was this a divine test or a treacherous trick? Choose. Echoed off the ancient stones, and with each repetition, it grew louder, as if the wall were alive, resonating with the turmoil inside them. A woman in the front shouted into the chaos, "Choose faith over fear." Her voice rang out like an anthem, yet she trembled, one hand raised as if in prayer. But not everyone was swayed. A father shielded his two small children, faces strained with confusion, shielding them from what felt like madness, a movement perpetuated by desperation and hope in equal measure. "No, we're leaving," he barked, pulling them away. A flicker of sorrow passed over his face, for he knew leaving didn't mean escaping. If reacting to the division among them, the wall shifted again. The letters twisted, forming a new phrase: one must lead. Gasps washed over the crowd. Everyone turned to their neighbors, eyes darting, searching for a leader among the disarray. Who among them would dare to step forward and interpret this chaotic calling? The weight of this revelation pressed down heavily, a palpable tension charging the air. The mysterious woman in the flowing robe stepped forward from her position, gliding through the mass like a ship upon a stormy sea. She raised her hands, commanding silence with only her presence. Her voice emerged clear and steady, cutting through the tangled emotions. "I will lead," she proclaimed. "But only if you are willing to follow." Murmurs erupted again, a melange of acceptance and dissent. People scanned one another, seeking traces of courage in faces caught between doubt and devotion. A man suddenly lunged towards the woman, desperation in his eyes. "What do you know?" he demanded, silencing the crowd once more. "What powers you? How can we choose if we don't know what this truly means?" "Exactly," someone shouted from the back. "Tell us or we should leave." The air crackled with tension, thoughts unspooling like a taut thread ready to snap. Yet, all the woman did was smile, a knowing, unsettling smile that spread across her features like a creeping shadow. "I know what you seek," she said softly, "but are you prepared for the truth?" "Truth?" echoed a voice filled with skepticism, reverberating through the gathering. "Is it the truth we want or just the easy answers?" "Both," came a reply, an outburst of grief and longing. "We've been lost. And just then, the ground trembled, a distant rumble that resonated underfoot, shaking their convictions. It felt like an earthquake beneath their feet, the wall pulsing violently as if trying to communicate, its glow intensifying. A violent flash of light erupted, overwhelming everyone's senses, blinding for a moment. As the crowd shielded their eyes, a collective scream pierced through the silence like a knife. What came next was unimaginable. From within the radiant glow, shadows began to take form, dancing along the wall, unveiling images that stirred both wonder and terror. "What is happening?" someone whimpered, voice barely holding against the rising fear. Meanwhile, the woman stood tall, her expression unchanging. "Prepare yourselves. The choice is not about faith alone, but trust." The air stilled, leaving nothing but a heartbeat echoing in the souls present. A decision loomed, wrapped in urgency, and as each moment passed, the weight of their resolve pressed heavily upon them. The images shifted again, drawing gasps and whimpers from the beleaguered witnesses. What new revelations awaited them? What choice remained for the gathered souls? Everything hinged on the next moment, and as the darkness deepened, fear and exhilaration grew. Would they be willing to see what lay ahead, no matter the cost? The flickering light continued to dance across the ancient stones, immersing the gathered souls in fear and wonder. The shadows morphed into images, haunting faces, scenes of despair, glimmers of hope. Each shape told a story that clung to their hearts, weaving threads of past mistakes and unfulfilled dreams. "I can't look," a woman cried, her hands covering her face. "What are we witnessing?" "Don't turn away," shouted the robed woman, her voice echoing with fierce urgency. "This is our moment. We cannot let fear blind us." Some grasped each other tightly, their knuckles white as they wrestled with the unknown. Others squeezed their eyes shut, desperate to block out the tumult unfolding before them. But for many, an undeniable compulsion drew them closer, urging them toward the glowing wall, urging them to witness whatever revelation might come. In the midst of conflicting emotions, the wall suddenly shifted again. "Choose!" it roared, the echo vibrating through the crowd like thunder. A jolt of adrenaline rushed through them, fibers of humanity vibrating at the edge of something monumental. Was this a call to action, or a trap disguised as destiny? "Choose faith," the woman repeated, this time louder, her eyes blazing with intensity. "Faith in what comes next, faith in each other." But then the imagery fractured. A scene shifted to a desolate landscape, people struggling in the dirt. "Is this our fate?" the man who had lunged at her demanded, voice trembling. Panic crept into his tone, revealing the depths of dread. "How can we choose faith if this is all we have to look forward to? Choices are not without sacrifice." She shot back, her voice unwavering. "Look further. What do you see?" And like a spotlight revealing the truth, the wall brightened, unveiling another scene. Hands reaching out, desperate for connection. Leeches of darkness uncoiling as light flooded into the frame, a glimmer of hope. "Do you see?" she implored. "We are more than our suffering. Every choice, each crossroad, leads us to a new beginning." Yet, amidst the shouts of agreement, whispers of dissent began to unfurl. "You want us to trust you?" a voice ventured from the back. "You don't know us. You could lead us straight to ruin." "I would never lead you without reason," she insisted, her eyes scanning the crowd. "The wall speaks through us. Will you wield what it reveals, or will you retreat into the shadows? What if we don't want this truth?" A blonde woman, tears streaming down her cheeks, exclaimed. What if faith only leads to pain?" That question hung thick in the air, a question everybody grappled with in their own hearts. The tension escalated, straining the fragile bonds of solidarity. A man stepped forward from the sea of faces, face pale yet determined. "I'll follow you," he said, voice steady, cutting through the fear. "But I want to know what's the cost." The woman nodded slowly, recognizing the bravery in his offer. "A choice often demands something in return, but what you surrender may lead to your liberation." Another tremor rippled through the ground, and the wall pulsated fiercely, swirling with colors even more vibrant, urgency shimmering like a beacon through the chaos. But just then, a loud crash echoed, an ominous sound cutting through their resolve. A piece of the wall crumbled like shattered glass, the light momentarily dimming as shadows consumed the bright dot. A shriek erupted from the crowd, and panic began to spread. "What is happening?" someone shouted. "Is this the end?" "No." the woman cried, mesmerizing the onlookers with her unwavering resolve. "It's a beginning, a reckoning. Stand firm. You must decide now." As fear laced every heart, uncertainty wrapped tightly around their throats. Yet, a faint flicker of determined light caught their eyes. Was it even possible for trust to arise from the ashes? And then silence fell over all, leaving nothing behind but unease. Would they confront their fears and choose hope, or retreat into the darkness? In that moment, each face reflected 1,000 questions, 1,000 emotions wrestling for dominance. What would the wall show them next? This precarious moment teetered on the edge of discovery, waiting for the spark of choice. Would they embrace their fate or let it slip away? The earth shuddered beneath their feet, reverberating with a sense of urgency that gripped their hearts. Shadows danced wildly on the wall, the flickering light showcasing their fears and lingering doubts, as if the universe itself meant to test them. "Stay together," the robed woman shouted, reaching for those nearest her. But within the crowd, a wave of panic surged. Voices babbled in confusion, uncertainty cresting like a breaking wave. The man who had shown courage faltered, his resolve dimming as eyes darted over the crumbling wall. "Choose faith. Or just choose to be scared." Someone yelled back, a sneer lacing his tone. Disagreement bubbled, mixing with despair. Each second stretched painfully as the reality of their situation sank in. The walls beckoned them closer, while tension contorted their expressions into masks of disbelief. Another tremor, this one sharper, sent rocks skittering across the ground, scattering like frightened mice. Would this be their last gathering? "We have to decide," the woman interjected, her voice slicing through the chaos with fierce clarity. "If we lose faith now, we lose everything." The wall showed us a possibility, a vision of hope. It's not just a warning, it's an invitation. And yet, doubt lingered. A younger woman pushed forward, her voice tight with fear. "What does it mean to surrender fully? What will we be left with?" "Maybe nothing," the brave man replied, a flicker of defiance igniting behind his wide eyes. "But maybe it's better than what we have now." Some murmured their agreement, while others drew closer, the wall's ethereal glow urging them forward like moths to a flame. They stood on the cusp of a choice that could rip them apart or bind them in a new kind of unity. Suddenly, the wall pulsed violently, splintering into fractal shapes that shimmered with every color imaginable. Then, an image stabilized, a vision of a roaring fire, leaping like a ravenous beast. In it, they saw figures huddled around the flames, faces illuminated with warmth, sharing stories of loss and triumph. It depicted a world transformed, hope rising from the ashes. A gasp escaped someone's lips, and an involuntary shudder swept through the crowd. The darkness had unveiled something they desperately needed to see. "Look," the robed woman urged. "We are not just defined by our missteps. Each of us carries a light that can lift others from darkness." Yet still, uncertainty etched itself into the hearts of the crowd. They could almost hear the whispers of the shadows calling them back, warning them of the price they might have to pay. "What happens if we choose wrong?" a voice trembled, breaking the fragile atmosphere. "What if this is all just a mirage?" A silence fell. Every heartbeat was loud, echoing the weight of the moment. Hope and despair tangled like strands of fate, and in that stillness, a new scene began to materialize on the wall. A figure emerged, a child, his face radiant, eyes glistening with a knowing that defied age. He stepped gently through the shadows as though they parted for him alone. "You must embrace your truth," he whispered, echoing through the crowd like a haunting melody. "Only then will you find your freedom." Eyes widened in shock. Who was this child, and what did he know of their struggle? Questions darted through their minds like fireflies in the night, but before they could respond, the ground shook again, more violently this time. The wall flickered, images warping into chaos as the child's figure began to fade. "Make your choice while you can," echoed the wise woman's voice, resonating through them as the fire within began to roar. Would they step into the blinding light together, or remain bound to their chains of doubt? As the final specter of illumination danced against the stone, darkness loomed ever closer. They needed to decide, and fast. What if the child was their only guide to salvation? Would they take the leap, or let this final chance slip away? The moment hung in the balance, heavy with possibility. Time stretched into an agonizing silence as their hearts raced against the impending darkness. The child's message echoed in their minds, a siren call begging them to listen. But fear, that stubborn shadow, coiled tighter around them. "Now. We have to act," the robed woman cried, her arms reaching out like the light she pleaded for them to embrace. Together. A flicker of defiance ignited in the brave man's chest. He stepped forward, determination etching lines on his face. "We can't wait for someone else to save us." He turned to the crowd, urgency igniting his words. "If we trust in each other, we can face whatever lies beyond." Some faces softened, nodding slowly. Others shook their heads, caught in the grip of fear, glancing back at the writhing shadows behind them. The pulsating light of the wall grew brighter, and they could feel the heat radiating against their skin, an invitation and a threat all at once. Another quake rocked the ground, sharper, making them stumble. A voice broke through the chaos. "What if the wall's just playing tricks on us? Like a mirage? Or it's a beacon? A guide?" Someone else shouted back, the tremor of hope weaving through desperation. "We have to choose the light." The robed woman took a deep breath, planting her feet firmly. "You must ask yourself, what chains do you want to break? The ones around your heart or the ones that bind your soul?" The crowd held its breath, minds racing through images of their past defeats and failures. Their personal demons writhed in the darkness of the edges of their thoughts. They could almost hear the echoes of loss and regret. Which demons would they confront? Then the child reappeared, clearer this time, a tiny spark against the all-consuming gloom. "Your truth will set you free," he urged, his small hands outstretched. "Dare to find it." A shocking revelation struck the brave man's heart. What if it wasn't just about their individual choices? What if their unity, their strength together, could exorcise the fears binding them? "Let us do this. Let us follow the light," he shouted. His voice rang out, a bell of clarity ringing through the din. A few stepped toward him, emboldened. Then, like a dam bursting, others surged forward, drawn by the light, by the possibility of hope. They grasped each other's hands, forming a trembling chain of humanity, shaking off the shadows clustering in their minds. But the wall responded with fury, splintering again, the images within contorting wildly as if the very essence of truth were wrestling to emerge from the swirling chaos. The fire flickered, burning brighter than ever, but the shadows bled outwards, threatening to engulf them all. "Do not doubt. Do not hesitate," the woman urged. "Leap into the unknown. Now." The brave man pulled the first few souls closer, his heart pounding. On 3, 1, 2, 3. They all jumped together, arms raised toward the vibrant, fiery glow. But the earth roared beneath them in response. An ear-splitting crack echoed, walls crumbling, collapsing around them. Dust filled the air like a thick fog, choking their lungs. Instinctively, they tightened their grip on one another, breaths shallow as another tremor shook their foundation, and in that terrifying moment, an incredible burst of light erupted from the wall, the child's image shattering through the chaos. Before them loomed a swirling portal, a pathway forged through burning courage and resolute determination, though fear still gripped their hearts. Would they cross through the blinding light, facing the unknown together, or would they let it all slip away? A primal scream broke from the crowd as one final tremor split the earth. "Don't let go!" Someone cried out, gripping tighter, would they emerge on the other side, transformed by their choice? Or was this the final act of their struggle, a testament to their fading faith? The choice was clear, yet the gamble stacked higher than ever. What awaited them on the other side? As the ground shook violently, they felt the rush of air swirling around them, pulling them toward that impossibly bright portal. With one last glance back into the dark, they stepped into the unknown. What awaited them would either be their salvation or final downfall, and soon, they would discover the hidden truth behind the shadows. They plunged into the light, a chaos of limbs and breaths mingling in one frenzied moment. Warmth enveloped them, wrapping each soul in an embrace that felt both foreign and intimate. For an instant, fear melted away. They were weightless, lifted by hope. But then reality crashed back, as the ground solidified beneath them. They stumbled onto a new terrain, stars above shining unrealistically bright. The air felt ethereal, thicker than any cloud, charged with an energy that made their skin tingle. Yet, unease crept in. "Where are we?" a woman gasped, eyes darting around at the strange landscape. Was this the afterlife or a temporary halt on an endless journey? The crowd shifted uneasily, uncertainty coiling amongst them like a hungry beast. The robed woman stepped forward, breaking the silence forming like a wall around them. "This is a realm between realms, where truths emerge from shadows," she announced, her voice steady but her eyes wide with wonder. "We must face what comes next together." A low rumble echoed through the air, dark clouds swirling above them in a chaotic dance, hinting at something unsettling. The ground trembled slightly, sending waves of tension through their linked hands. "Hey!" shouted the brave man, turning sharply. "What is that?" From the shifting shadows emerged phantoms, swirling figures formed from the darkness that had haunted them before, their regrets, their failures, manifesting before their eyes. Each one wore a familiar face, twisted by despair. Each vision wrapped tendrils of anguish around their hearts. "Face them," the woman urged. "Choose your truth. Stand firm." But as the figures drew closer, whispers enveloped them like fog, pulling at their very essence. "You'll never escape, you don't deserve redemption." The voices dripped with venom, their sinister undertones resonating in the depths of doubt buried within each soul. The brave man clenched his fists, a knot of determination twisting in his gut. "No. We do deserve to be free," he shouted back, voice slicing through the whispers like a knife. Desperate sparks ignited in his heart as he squeezed the hands of those beside him. "Together, we have the strength." A flicker of courage spread amongst them, shaking off shadows bent on dragging them back into despair. They stepped closer, solidifying their chain. The phantoms lunged. Time hung like molasses as they crashed into the group. Breathtaking screams tore through the crowd, faces contorted in terror, yet a collective force surged back. One by one, they confronted their pasts, grappling with fear, battling the tendrils of torment. Each touch transformed pain into defiance, searing their spirits with strength. They either faced their reflection or risked being consumed. Slowly, shadows evaporated under the heat of their resolve, but with each phantom vanquished, a new question emerged from the remnants of the defeated. Instead of complacent joy, reality grew around them like a gnarled tree, dangerous and unpredictable. "What if we can't escape the past?" someone cried, a hint of despair lacing their words. The robed woman staggered for a moment, sadness washing over her features, their fingers grew sweaty, breaths quickened. An even more tremendous tremor shook the ground, the dark sky lightening into an ominous dawn. Bright beams cut through the chaos above, but with it came a chilling laugh. "Fools! You think facing your shadows grants you freedom?" a voice boomed, reverberating through the earth like thunder. It felt alive, breathing down the backs of their necks. Before them, the swirling portal flickered ominously, shadows gathering like storm clouds. "What does it want?" the brave man shouted, losing grip on his confidence. But as fear washed over them once more, the child's enchanting words echoed in their heads, "Your truth will set you free." Only one question lingered amidst the chaos: could they harness the true power of unity and transform their burdens into strength? Or was the dawning darkness merely a prelude to their demise? Then, as if in answer, the ground split open and revealed a staircase, spiraling down into unfathomable shadows below. Submit or fight? They hovered on the brink of both. What awaited them within the depths? The brave man peered into the abyss, heart pounding against his chest like a war drum. A chill swept through the air, wrapping fingers of dread around his throat. Behind him, the others shuffled nervously, casting restless glances at the shifting shadows that danced at the brink. What lay at the bottom? Were they to descend into a trap, or could it be the escape they desperately needed? He felt the weight of their apprehension, the collective fear cloaking them like a thick fog. Listen! A voice quivered from the back. It was a woman, her face pale under the starlit sky. We can't just jump in. We need to know. Know what? He snapped back, frustration boiling over. We're standing here waiting for what? A sign. Something to tell us it's okay. This is it. We either fall into the darkness or muster the courage to step forward. The shadows shifted, as if mocking him, beckoning them down the spiral staircase. An ominous whisper echoed from the depths, wrapping around their ankles like a snake. Join us, it hissed. Embrace your fears, stop it. A man shouted, hands clenching into fists. That's what they want. They thrive on our doubt. Together, we can't let them win. The grip of unity tightened again amongst them. Some started to step closer to the edge, driven by a flicker of hope. The robed woman lifted her arms, her presence commanding. Together, we can suddenly, a shrill scream sliced through the air, colliding with their thoughts. A young girl broke away from the pack, eyes wide with terror. No. I can't go. I'll be consumed. The brave man's heart sank. We won't let that happen. He urged, stretching out his hand. You're not alone. We're with you. But her feet remained rooted in place, trembling as she stared deep into the darkness. The phantoms began to swirl quicker, shifting and howling around them. You're not good enough. They screeched. You'll always be trapped. The ground trembled more violently now, echoing their doubts. The air felt electric with fright, oppressive. A chain of half-formed words and emotions linked them together: guilt, shame, fear. It choked their courage like a noose around their necks. Come on, please. He yelled, desperation spilling from his voice. Don't listen to them. The shadows hissed louder, drowning out his voice. The portal flickered backdrop of light and darkness, teasing them with glimpses of what could be. Face your truth or submit, the deep voice rang out once more, its tone mocking and cruel. Which will it be? The brave man took a step forward into the darkness, feeling the heat of his own determination. Together. He shouted, willing them to move. We choose to fight. And so, one by one, they began to descend. The first step rattled through the air like a gunshot. Each solid impact on the stairs became a battle cry, a dare against the whispers that threatened to drown them. The spiral staircase descended further into shadow, its walls eccentric and winding. Each breath felt like a weight lifting, their resolve growing stronger with every step. Then, shaking and gasping, they rounded a bend only to come face to face with a figure, a tall man shrouded in darkness, yet gleaming with a light of his own. You seek freedom? He asked, a knowing smile on his lips, like a Cheshire cat's grin. Then you must be willing to lose everything. The brave man's chest tightened at the revelation. Lose everything? What could that possibly mean? In that moment, the darkness quivered, alive and pulsing with energy, ready to engulf them all. Why do you hesitate? The figure beckoned, his voice deep and rich. Your choice is everything, but it may cost you your very soul. Just then, the walls of the staircase pulsated, revealing flashes of memories twisted from each of them. Buried secrets clawed at the surface, painful glimpses that held them back like anchors, would they embrace the shadows of their past, or fight against the weight of their own truths? Dread and hope collided fiercely, and once again, they hovered on the edge of decision what awaited them deeper in the shadows. The brave man felt the air grow thick, almost suffocating, around them. The figure loomed larger as if he was drawing in the very shadows that surrounded him. The light shimmering around his form danced in a way that sent chilling sparks up the brave man's spine. There was something grotesquely alluring about him. "What's the cost?" the brave man asked, his voice trembling. The others shifted behind him, their fear shadowing his resolve. The tall figure tilted his head, the smile still taking root on his lips. "Everything you hold dear. Your doubts, your dreams, your very identity. It's your choice." The young girl whimpered, startling him back into the moment. He shot her a reassuring glance, but her face was pale as parchment, her eyes wide with confusion. She had to believe him. They all had to find strength in this moment. Together. He roared once more, but even he felt doubt creeping in. How could he ask them to give up their whole selves? What kind of freedom came at such a steep price? His hands gripped the railing, knuckles white, as if the metal could anchor him against the surging tide of anxiety that ebbed and flowed around them. "Step forward and embrace what you fear," the figure encouraged, his voice draped in velvet, yet sharp as a knife. The darkness seemed to pulse in response, drawing nearer, its whispers louder. "You're not worthy," they cried, discordant and clamorous. "Why is it always worthiness?" a man murmured, taking a hesitant step back. His expression was wrought with conflict, eyes darting between the looming figure and the depths below. "What if we're just stop?" the brave man almost shouted, flinging his arm outward to fully block the man's retreat. They needed each other more now than ever. This is what they want. To divide us. To feed on our fear. The man faltered but stayed put, caught in the tension, while the winds of doubt shrieked around them. The brave man caught another glimpse of the figure and saw an edge of madness in his eyes. A flicker of something dark that hinted at the cruelty of the shadows behind him. "Who are you?" the brave man fired back, pushing his voice beneath the weight of trembling fear, infused with the boldness of hope. The tall figure's smile widened, a cat who had cornered a mouse. "I am what lies between your past and your destiny. I am the embodiment of choices unmade. I am the harbinger of your truth." He stepped closer, and it felt as if the darkness itself shrank back, allowing a sliver of light to pour through. The air crackled, charged with expectation. "If you wish to escape the cavern of despair, embrace your past. Only then can you forge ahead." A voice from behind squeaked, "But what if we don't want to remember?" "It's the remembering that heals," he shouted, desperation spilling into the air. "We can't let them define us. This is our moment. As long as we stand together." But just as his words sank in, the walls pulsated fiercely, unleashing a chorus of screams from the depths. The shadows contorted, weaving through the group, grasping at their skin, whispering their most terrifying secrets into their ears. Each painful memory flashed through the brave man's mind in startling succession: a childhood betrayal, a lost chance at love, a mother's dying wish. "No." He gasped, doubling over as the weight of it crashed into him. "We can't allow this." Suddenly, he felt a hand on his shoulder, firm, warm. It was the young girl, her eyes glimmering with resolve. "If we face them, together we can conquer this." With renewed fervor, the brave man straightened up. "Together," he shrieked, swallowing down his fears. "We step forward into our truth." The shadows shrieked louder, their anger reverberating through the staircase as if it were alive. As they gathered their collective strength, the figure's smile faded, morphing into an unsettling glare. "Fools," he hissed sharply, the air thickening with dread. "You think conquering the past will lead you to freedom?" A menacing chill enveloped them as they prepared to take that next step forward into the unknown. Would the truth truly set them free, or would it reveal a darkness even deeper than they could imagine? The brave man inhaled sharply, the taste of fear bitter on his tongue. And then he thought, did they truly know what awaited them below? Light poured from the staircase above, illuminating the figures standing together, their breaths synchronized in desperation as they faced the unknown. Every heartbeat vibrated through them, echoing a blend of fear and hope. In that moment, they were bound not only by their trembling hands but by a shared conviction whatever lay ahead, they would confront it together. With renewed determination, the brave man stepped forward, leading the charge. "We will embrace our past. We will not be defined by it," he proclaimed, his voice ringing clear against the trembling shadows. The figure in darkness stared at him, an unsettling stillness swirling around him like storm clouds. "You truly believe that?" it asked, condescension dripping from its voice. "The past is a prison, and you hold the keys." The shadows twisted closer, hissing their contempt. "You are weak. You are not worthy. You'll always return to despair." But the brave man's resolve hardened. "The only thing I return to is my truth. We are not our mistakes." The young girl squeezed his hand tighter. "Together." She echoed his conviction, her voice unwavering. One by one, the others joined in, their breaths uniting as they shouted, "Together." The interplay of light and darkness intensified as they felt the supercharged energy around them. The figure grinned, but his smirk carried no warmth. "Very well," it taunted, "I will grant you the chance to prove those words, but remember, every truth has a cost." As if to challenge the resolve they had found, the shadows surged, revealing fragmented memories once hidden beneath their feet. Each face morphed into anguished expressions that tore at their hearts, regrets and fears became incarnate, swirling and swirling, begging them to falter. The brave man felt the grip of his own shadows tightening, echoes of painful memories clawing at his mind, lost friendships, shattered dreams, guilt that felt insurmountable, breath quickening. He dared to plunge deeper, confronting those specters of his past head-on. "You don't define me," he shouted, force igniting his every word. "I choose to stand in the light of those memories, not behind them." The light within him flared, pushing back against the weight of despair. One by one, each person followed suit. They acknowledged their pasts, not with defeat, but with acceptance. "I was lost, but I am stronger now." Another cried. "I chose to forgive," shouted a third. They took their truths and transformed weakness into strength, and the phantoms began to recede, dimming in the face of their unyielding unity. The tall figure stepped back, visibly shaken now. "This isn't possible. You cannot escape," it roared as the walls quaked. Shadows swirled, almost collapsing in on themselves as if their very existence depended on maintaining doubt and fear. But they stood fast. Ropes of doubt unraveled, scholars of despair released their grip. "We are not afraid," they shouted, and with that, their voices harmonized into a single, resolute shout that filled the air with undeniable power. The light erupted anew, a brilliant blaze illuminating the dark staircase, and with the finality of their united strength, they charged forward into the unknown. As each step resonated, the shadows recoiled, consumed by their radiance. The brave man let the light engulf him as it pulsed through the group, surging like lava illuminating a dark cavern. No one shielded their eyes, they faced their fears head-on, knowing they had embraced their truth together. The darkness retreated into the depths, collapsing inward as the figures fell through the staircase, revealing a vast, open landscape bathed in the soft glow of dawn. The exhilarating rush of liberation washed over them. They emerged into a world painted in vibrant colors, the air fresh and invigorating, each breath filled with newfound hope. Around them, the echoes of the past faded, giving way to whispers of promise. "We made it," a woman breathed, awe evident in her voice. The once chained burdens dissolved into the light, replaced by the warmth of connection. The brave man gazed at his companions. Their faces, haggard yet triumphant, reflected the strength they had forged together. Looking back at the portal, memories of their struggles still clung to the edges, but they were just that, memories. They had passed through darkness only to emerge into the brilliance of a new dawn. And for the first time, they understood, life would always hold challenges, but now they were ready to face whatever came, hand in hand. "Let us move forward," the brave man said, bursting with renewed purpose. "Together, we choose hope." They nodded in agreement, hearts beating as one, ready to embrace the journey ahead. This moment felt monumental. It was a new beginning. The sun broke free from the horizon, casting long shadows behind them, but this time, they strode toward their future without looking back, filled with a courage that came from knowing they were never alone. As the new day dawned, they shared knowing smiles. The powerful bond of connection igniting within them was a force unlike any they had experienced before. This was their new reality, and they were ready to greet it with open arms. Remember, never forget the power of unity and the importance of hope. And as they lifted their eyes to the future, their voices rose in celebration, a chorus of new beginnings echoing through the world. You need to subscribe now. Don't miss out on any of the incredible stories coming up next. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about this amazing ending. And for real, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is everything, and only true fans understand the power of making this community thrive.